Welcome to SCAN. This is Pat Bohse, the Executive Director of Senior Citizen Activities Network, or if you rather call us Social Community Activities Network. I haven't done this show in a long time, but I'm really very in need of having this conversation in regards to digital inclusion or digital divide, as some people might call it. During this pandemic, it's become very apparent that if you're not connected or don't have access to technology, that you're really left behind. And I do think that it's a conversation we need to have, especially in my area of working with senior citizens. No one seems to be talking about it. So this is my first venture out as this advocate for digital inclusion. And I have two wonderful guests today who have experience and who have started a practitioners group in New Jersey, a digital inclusion practitioners group in New Jersey. And I'm really excited to talk to them about what's going on and what we can do going forward so that we can make sure everyone is included. My guests today are Andrew Farrelly and Michael Stromm, who again, I'm going to ask them to give you a little background of themselves, but I met these gentlemen through the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, which is a wonderful group that keeps everybody informed about what's going on and where. And so sadly to say, New Jersey is on its way up, but needs some more work. So Andrew, just tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm, like I said, Andrew Farrelly. I am, along with Michael, a founding member of the Digital Inclusion Practitioners of New Jersey, which is DIPNJ for short. And a few years ago, for the nonprofit where my day job is, we realized that a lot of our clients had an issue with all things digital. And the nature of that organization, or what that organization does, is helps people in low to middle income communities start and grow their businesses, which if you're trying to do in a modern age requires the use of a computer or a digital device in some way. And we noticed we noticed that this was an issue that many of our clients were facing. So we started doing digital literacy classes that way. And through a journey that I'm sure we'll get into later, I met Michael, and we started to try to build something that expanded beyond the organizations that we directly worked for.
Great, and Michael, so tell us how you come to our table today.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. My name is Michael Stromm. I'm the other co-founder of the Digital Inclusion Practitioners in New Jersey. My connection to digital inclusion work really began with a 9-month public policy fellowship through Leadership for Educational Equity, where I was placed at the Jersey City Housing Authority at the time when they were starting their Connect Home USA program. And it really gave me an opportunity to dive into all aspects of digital inclusion, from creating different computer labs, to acquiring devices, to tablet trials, to trying to get greater connectivity. And it was through that effort that we held a digital inclusion convening. And really at the end of that convening, Andrew came to me and said, this was great, but we need to make sure that we are continuing to have a presence and that there is a continuous entity that's working for digital inclusion. And that's really where DIPNJ began.
Well, again, I'm happy that both of you met each other and have joined forces. So Andrew, can you just give me a description of digital inclusion and what does the phrase really entail?
Absolutely. So a lot of people have a vague idea of what it could mean, and often what they think is access either to a device and an internet connection, or simply they confuse it with a term digital literacy. What digital inclusion is, it's all of those things. It's access to a sufficiently powerful internet connection. It's access to a sufficiently powerful device, and that's relative to the needs of the user. It's the skills and abilities to complete the tasks or whatever a user needs to do to be able to do that and take advantage of those first two elements. But in addition to that, it's also tech support. Just the nature of technology is it breaks, things go wrong, and that's okay. But not everyone has to be an expert. So access to tech support. And finally, devices, applications, and just content in general that is designed specifically for all different parties, whether that's people with learning disabilities or people with issues, visual issues of some sort, or even just age differences. It's making sure that none of those people are excluded from the use of technology by some oversight in design.
So again, during the pandemic, it became really clear that as far as the seniors that we're working with, there was like 4 classifications. And one is that a senior had the ability and had good access and had the tools to do it and were fine, were able to connect and understand it. We had seniors who had the tools but didn't have the connectivity for a variety of reasons. Mostly one is that they could not afford the cost of Wi-Fi. Then there were seniors who wished that they could have connectivity and also the tools, but again, couldn't afford it. And the last group are seniors who could care less about the internet. And so we have to respect that. But I do think that the issue about not having or not affording the ability to connect becomes really, really paramount in this conversation. So Michael, just give us a little more background in regards to the New Jersey chapter and the beginnings of the organization after you had done your fellowship.
Yeah. So the timing of the last convening that we mentioned brought together a lot of different individuals who are interested in digital inclusion efforts, but it also corresponded with the end of my public policy fellowship. As a way to really continue the effort and bring an entity together where folks can continue to work for digital inclusion on a consistent basis, we decided to create the DIP-NJ network. But it's important to realize that part of the reason why DIP-NJ was necessary in the first place is that there is not a major entity in New Jersey that deals with this issue overall. We are one of the few states in the nation, actually, that do not have a central digital inclusion office or advocacy group. And so that's why DIP-NJ was really necessary as a sort of starting point to get together different individuals who are passionate about digital inclusion, no matter what their job title might be. Some folks were interested on the client standpoint. Some were just interested in policy. Others were maybe more on the technical side of things or the job development side. No matter where somebody was coming into the DIP-NJ network, we wanted to make sure that there was one entity that brought them all together.
So I had the pleasure of speaking to one of your members who happened to be a librarian, and I do know that the library system throughout New Jersey is a really important piece because that's where a lot of people go to get connected. But because of the pandemic, everything was closed. And so we got lots of phone calls from seniors who said, Pat, I'm in a communication desert here because that's where I would go, or go to a Starbucks or someplace else where they had Wi-Fi. So I think there was a lot of good lessons learned in regards to how much we don't have or didn't discuss or have answers to. So can you, Andrew, just explain what you had observed during COVID-19 and how it's affecting the people that you work with or the general population?
Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of the things you said are absolutely correct. And I think what the pandemic did was it laid bare the extent of the issue. And so as you pointed out correctly, many people relied on physical spaces, physical public spaces in order to access the internet. And so in some ways, because there was no squeaky wheel, a lot of people, I think, didn't realize the extent of the issue of digital inclusion or digital inequity. And so with the pandemic, with rightfully closing down public spaces, it became extremely obvious that the infrastructure that was currently in place was not sufficient for everyone. Depending on where you are in the state, the level of broadband access hovers around 30%, all the way up to around 70%, I believe. But even at 70%, that is a huge number of people who aren't connected and in their home. And so the pandemic created obviously a ton of issues, and a major component of that was digital inclusion or lack of connectivity, because things like telemedicine, which was something that the government was suggesting people use instead of physically going to a doctor's office, was just not possible. Same with working from home. Same with just staying connected to people. If it's unsafe to sit in a room of your friends, the next best option is to sit on a Zoom call with your friends. But if that is not actually an option for you, then you're just then sitting alone. And that is a huge, huge problem.
Yeah, I was reading a statistic, and I shared it with you yesterday, that there's over 40 million people who are not connected throughout the country. But my bigger concern is seniors not being connected because of senior isolation and how it affects them, both mentally and physically. We know that senior isolation is probably equal to someone smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and how it affects their health. So, this is a huge issue. And then I loved when people told seniors to go do a telehealth call, and the seniors had no idea what that was, or how to do it, or, how does one get in touch with their doctor if the doctor doesn't have this system in place already to take a telehealth call. So, I think communication needs a lot of clarification in this particular issue, but we'll get there soon. I'm very confident that we will. So, Michael, what is your thoughts in regards to having digital access as a luxury or a necessity going forward?
Yeah, I think to kind of follow up on what Andrew was saying before, one of the almost silver linings of the COVID-19 crisis is that more and more digital access is being considered an essential service rather than a luxury. In the past, it was seen as a pure luxury space, but kind of in the same way that air conditioning or having a refrigerator and other things like that were once considered luxuries. Now they're almost seen as essential. And digital access is increasingly being seen as essential, especially when you think about the different services that are only available online, or that are available online in a much easier way than otherwise. And so as just one quick example of that, anyone who was faced with unemployment due to the pandemic, they had the option to call in and they'd get a busy signal, or they were given a time where they could access the form online and they were able to submit their unemployment claim. That's just one example of different services that are more available online. But as Andrew mentioned, there's also telemedicine, there's banking, there's other essential services that are increasingly only available through an online medium.
Okay, guys, we're going to have to take a break because this is going so quickly and so wonderful. So I invite our guests, our audience, to stay tuned to our local commercial, and we'll be right back.
Take it from me, living with diabetes is no easy task, but I learned how to manage my health condition, and so can you. The Diabetes Self-Management Program is a 6-week self-management workshop created by Stanford University. The program provides you with proven strategies to manage your diabetes and reclaim your life. You will join an interactive and mutually supportive workshop whose success builds confidence to effectively manage your diabetes and allows you to maintain an active lifestyle. See how proper nutrition, exercise, and medication management help you increase your energy, manage side effects, and keep you feeling in control. You will not only receive a copy of this book, but you will get guidance and support from others like you living with diabetes.
The Diabetes Self-Management Workshop meets once a week for 6 weeks. This innovative workshop is offered to all Monmouth County residents. Call the number on your screen to register or get additional information at scannj.org.
Welcome back. This is Welcome to SCAN, and we're talking about digital inclusion, which is becoming a really hot item. We were just talking about the importance of being connected and it being essential. I do think going forward, it will be like an additional utility that we all will have to have in our homes, so that we can be connected, whether it's children or people going to work, which I do think that more people will be working from home in the future now that it's been successful, but also seniors, as far as being connected, not only to their peers, but to their family, and again, to their doctors, where they don't have to go and make those visits. So Michael, you have some experience working with seniors, and what are some of the things that you found out, and how do you think that this whole situation has affected them?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I saw is that each individual user's experience is different. As you alluded to earlier in the segment, seniors are coming from different touch points. Some have an innate interest, and they're trying to look for what the device can do for them, but maybe they're having some trouble with the touch screen or using the keyboard, whatever that might be. Others have simply not been engaged often with digital technology and don't necessarily see what it can do for them. And one of the biggest things that I would encourage practitioners to be mindful of as they engage with seniors is that everybody's touch point can be different. There's no cookie cutter approach for individuals, especially individuals with so much lived experience. You have to really try to make that connection and figure out, what does the user want? What are they trying to get out of this technology? And one really great example of this is when we were doing a tablet trial at the Jersey City Housing Authority. There were some seniors that were initially not sure what this device could do for them. It was a data connected tablet. And while I am not a religious person myself, I asked the individual who I knew had vision impairment, would you be interested in having the Bible read to you? And they said, this device can do that? Yeah, of course. And there are actually lots of free versions of the Bible that are available online through LibriVox or other mediums that we could put on your tablet so that you could have the Bible read to you. That was the touch point.
Yeah, and thinking about that, I mean, again, a lot of the seniors that we work with go to church regularly, and all church services are being streamed now. Mm-hmm. And so it's another reason for them wanting to or be connected. So I'd never thought about that whole piece or scenario, but I think it's absolutely perfect. So we will put that in our bag of tricks going forward in regards to trying to get people engaged. The only other thing is, what are the kind of resources are available now?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. There are a ton of different free resources that are available. As a sort of starting point, I would encourage folks to go to our website, dipnj.org, where if you click on the resource tab, you will actually get a whole bunch of curated resources that are available for individuals and practitioners. And there's a lot of stuff there, especially for entertainment purposes and life fulfillment purposes, especially during COVID-19. Beyond that, I would encourage folks just to try to consider what what an individual might be looking for. And 10 to 1, there is a free resource out there for that. But
So,
really,
Michael,
it takes,
I'm sorry. Just could you give us your website one more time? And can
Yes,
people
it's
sign up to join the
dipnj.org.
organization?
Yeah, DIPNJ.org.
Okay. And they can join also the organization using that website?
They certainly can.
Perfect.
Andrew,
I
is
didn't
there
mean to
anything
cut
that
you
you want to
short.
add about that?
No, I think you covered everything. There's a tab that says email list, and if you click on that, you will just fill out that form, and you'll get on their email list and find out more.
Perfect. So, Andrew, some major challenges in digital inclusion in New Jersey specifically, what are they?
So New Jersey faces a lot of the similar ones to other states. The difference with New Jersey is that at a state level, it is one of, I believe, 5 states that does not have a dedicated group of individuals who are sort of the thought leaders around digital inclusion. And this is, it's a bit difficult to prove that something doesn't exist, but as far as everyone we've spoken to who would know this sort of thing, no one has been able to confirm that it does exist. And so we start to see this in the way that as we see legislation that's being introduced on the topic of the digital divide, sort of the difference between people who have access to the internet and sort of the digital world and those who don't, we see language that is specific to just the hardware and doesn't talk about the digital literacy or the tech support or the design of those components. And without that sort of holistic view, it's very difficult to really grapple with this very serious, pervasive issue. So that's the major thing, and it's also the culture of digital inclusion itself is something that we are working on, where there's a lot of people who are, by virtue of what they do, doing digital inclusion work, whether that's helping your mother, your grandmother, or grandfather, or whomever to access their email, or FaceTime for the first time, or my grandmother loves to play chess on her iPhone. Like, all those things are inherently digital inclusion concepts. And once we start thinking of digital inclusion as that sort of thing, or helping someone fill out their resume at the library, or someone who maybe works in a public benefits department of a either at the municipal or the county or the state or federal level, those are all inherently digital inclusion or places where digital inclusion matters. And once we start considering that, then we'll at least start to be able to deal with the problem.
So I know that Digital Inclusion Week is coming up October 5th to the 9th. So any quick tips that we can ask the audience to do in regards to be heard about this being an important issue to them?
Yeah, so the first thing you can do is sign up for our newsletter at dipnj.org. And we'll have, we send out this sort of thing, these calls to action, things like that. Another thing is during Digital Inclusion Week, which is a national push to have this conversation, we are having a online symposium where we are inviting different practitioners, and if all goes well, either staffers or government officials to join and hear about this problem and learn more. But in pursuit of that, reaching out to your legislator, reaching out to government officials that you either represent you or you just happen to know, and talking about digital inclusion in this more holistic sense is a great place to start.
Yeah, so I agree with you, but I do think that they need to hear from the end user. In my case would be the seniors. While I'm fine to be a spokesperson for them, it really affects them much more than because I am connected. I have the luxury of doing that. So I'm really talking to my audience right now, to have your customers or consumers to make those calls or help them make those calls. If they are technology savvy, to send those emails and be consistent in regards to the message, because there's so many people who are not, who are being left behind, and it's not just seniors. I mean, we know now that school might not ever go back for a long time, and you hear these stories every night on the news. So digital inclusion in my world is an essential. It will be a utility in the future, I believe. I think we need to do everything we can to make sure that the legislators know and that they fund it. I mean, again, I always get pushback, and I share this with you, that people say, oh, well, Comcast has a low cost program for people. Well, the issue is how does one find out about it? How do you get connected? What are the rules? And one thing you shared with me yesterday is if you're a present customer of them, you're not eligible. I mean, so it's lots of stuff. It shouldn't be that difficult. I should be able to get it, afford it, and use it. So that's my 2 cents in regards to that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm sorry that I wasn't clear about that. In the end, yes, what I meant to get across was that everyone should be calling their elected representatives and telling them that this is a problem for them and the specifics around how it is problematic for them. And the more people and the more stories that we hear, the more we can build this culture of digital inclusion.
Well, I can't believe, but a half hour has already passed. And so I want to thank both of you. I mean, I'm so happy I found you. I'm not going to go away too fast. I'm a member of your group, and I'd be more than happy to talk on behalf of the people that I represent, both locally and statewide. And so I'm sure a lot of the viewers of the TV show will too. So I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. I'm pleased to be the executive director of SCAN, and we are holding our own during this whole pandemic, and we have gone digital. So that's wonderful. I mean, we're doing all of our classes online, and it's been interesting. Nothing else to say. But again, I want to take this time to say thank you. And hopefully we'll be back soon at SCAN.